Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 44 of Dudes Watch a Movie podcast.
The punkiest number.
Because he uses a 44 Magnum. Anyway, we watched SLC Punk.
Plus 44, right?
They're not punk-ish.
Cougar.
There's some debate on that, I'm sure.
But it's half of 88.
Okay.
What?
I don't know.
I mean, 86 is a band, a punk band.
There's
Anyway,
Sum
we
41
watched
song called
SLC
88.
Punk, a movie that came out on April 16th, which is a day after this episode airs.
There's a lot of people clamoring, I think.
I'm sure there is for a
this
film
anniversary.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
Did I do my math right?
Yeah.
No.
You wanna try it again?
21 years ago.
That sounds much better.
Math is hard. Anyway, so this is the podcast, and we're going to talk about tropes, character likenesses, scenes in the music industry, not scenes as the film industry, and how to react when you're seeing people you least expected. I am Dead Sprocket, or Thomas, I suppose. We use our names at this point anymore.
Yeah,
it's a dead thing now.
Yeah.
Joined by...
Oh, Lance.
Here you go.
I was trying to think of like some punky name, like Dimebag Daryl or Heroin Bob, but I got nothing. I just blanked.
Butt Liquor Lance.
I do.
It's self-depreciative and also kind of grimy.
I do have SLC. Suck Lance's cock.
Whoa.
I just that got written down for some reason. Not really punky, but little punky Brewster for you.
Oh God.
And you?
Who are you? Yeah.
Kirk.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
As the way it should be sometimes. Anyway.
Punk Kirk.
Punkirk. Kirk.
KC Punk and the Sunshine Band.
Grasping at straws. Anyway, I'm going to hit you with that plot. It's a short one. In the early 1980s, Steve-O and Heroin Bob are the only two dedicated punks in the conservative Salt Lake City. I almost stumbled over the word conservative. So I'll hit you. We'll do the guess. Taglines.
Oh.
Give me your guess.
Punk's not dead.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, would that be a tagline you'd put on there? I mean, that
what
seems
would I
funny.
put on here?
Yeah. I guess it shouldn't be a guess, a tagline.
I'll make your own.
Yeah, there you go. There we go.
Are we past the point where we can start cussing?
I mean, you
cuss
already
whatever
said
you want, yeah.
suck Lance cock.
Oh,
so.
fuck, I did, didn't I?
I don't
And
give
then
a-
there's there.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Fuck.
I don't know.
Drop it.
Something. Fuck the scene. I can't muster up the energy for this one. I don't know. It's just not there.
I hate this town, but I love pizza.
Oh, well, it is a God bless America because they're gonna need it. I mean, my tagline probably wouldn't have been that punk's not dead. That seems pretty
That's-
Yeah.
fitting, but
But
I'm
it is.
really spacing on this
Right.
one. I'm sorry, guys.
that's okay. I guess it's all right. Anyway, box office details. We're gonna hit it with. Can you guess a budget? And honestly, it was a lot more than I anticipated, and I can tell you right away, it did not get anywhere close to making it back.
$3 million.
Less.
$6.
$6.
And a ham sandwich.
$2 million.
Oh.
That's not bad. And it made back like 500,000.
Guess how much it made opening weekend? Mind you, it only premiered at the Sundance
$6.
in the what's it, Indie Festival, something like that. No, not $6.
No.
There's a 6 in the number.
69.
No,
6,000.
36,000.
Oh.
36,218. April 16th, 1999. a year
I can
afterwards.
assume it's become a cult followed movie though.
However, it grossed across the U.S. in 299,000, almost 300,000, but still nowhere close to that 2 million, which isn't surprising. It was basically one of those indie films. It's got a lot of good followers and a lot of I didn't really like it, such as most movies do anyway. So I guess if we want to go with our overall thoughts in a non-spoiler take, I suppose, the best that you can. Start it off.
Oh, you had to go to me.
I did. I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
You know that I'm floundering over here. Like,
it's-
Lance, what do you think of this
Yeah.
punk rock movie?
We'll stay with the lower start. You said you
You're
just
just watching someone drown and you're like, let's put more water on him.
I'm trying to throw him life rafts.
Full of water.
Life
You just smacked me in the
Lifesavers.
face, and now I'm dying and bleeding. What was the question again?
Spoiler free.
Overall
Yeah.
thoughts.
Overall thoughts?
Shouldn't be hard. What'd you think?
You know, I was kind of getting into Ultra Shaggy's
This
acting.
meme's gonna be way dead in the future.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Ultra Shaggy lives forever. I don't
True.
know. Of all the things I've seen that guy in, you know, 13 Ghosts,
Scooby Doo.
Scooby-Doo. I think those are the only two I've actually seen
Without
him
a
in.
paddle.
There you go.
Never saw it Without a Paddle.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
Was he in Ghost Ship?
I don't remember. I only remember the opening to Ghost Ship.
I don't.
I feel like yes.
Maybe he was in some other thing. I really liked him in this. He really this was his niche. This was his place. Would just be some wild, crazy man with blue hair.
True.
Seemed
liked
not out of character with him.
Yeah, seemed to really fit, except that bald cap.
That was bad. Yeah.
At times.
Fair enough.
I mean, overall, I liked it. I don't think I would have watched it myself without being forced to. But,
Understandable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could
Rush.
go for that one. Rush.
I feel like the actors all did a good job, but I would never watch that movie again.
No.
Like, I don't like the characters, and I don't really care for the plot, but everyone that was in it did a good job.
Right on. My overall thoughts, it'd be fourth time seeing this film now, I think.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed it when I was younger. When I'm older, it's still pretty good to me, but there are bits in this movie where it kind of lulls, and I think that's for intentional reasons. Like there's a couple parts where it gets a little dark, depressing, and it's just kind of
There's a part where it goes straight up horror movie for a
a
good
reason.
5 minutes.
Well, for a reason. I mean, when you're in the headspace that you're in and you decide to drop some acid, it's probably not going to go to a good spoiler.
Spoilers.
Ain't no spoilers.
I was thinking though, like, I would recommend this to someone who likes Clerks, Requiem for a Dream, or American History X. Because I mean, it's got a lot of this movie's just a talkie movie, like Clerks, but also it's got that grittiness of Requiem and like American History X, where like it's
This
very
was like a film post Pulp Fiction and all that, so it kind of took itself away from there.
And it's like those movies have the same like gross feel that this movie has at times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm on board with that one.
Who's in this movie?
Oh boy.
Can we first talk about the trailer?
Oh yes, please do.
In the 90s, Salt Lake City was not a place for punks. But what do these clowns do? Let's go be punks. Yeah, let's be punks. ROCK in the USA. Fuck the system, man.
Speaking of the trailer, we forgot to do the trailer thoughts. What did you? What,
Exactly that.
That's what you thought it was going to be. Just
You had said
like a '90s rom-com.
You had said you had said, "Oh man, the trailer for this is amazing. It's so 90s." That was in my head, and the very first line is, God, what was it?
I don't know.
Salt Lake City in this voice.
What shenanigans can they get into?
Yeah,
That
90s
guy.
rom-com. That is a perfect description of it.
When I watched it, all I thought was it was Jesus of Suburbia, the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, featuring Jason Segel, and probably most likely focused on Matthew Lillard's character and his relationship with his girlfriend. Last part, not so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I was kind of okay with because
Yeah.
I would have made it a little bit what.
I guess.
But overall, I mean, I didn't watch the trailer when I first saw it. It straight up went right into the film. Basically, my good friend Ben was like, "Hey, man, you got to really see this film." He also
It seems like a movie he would like.
right. Oddly enough, though, he lived in a basement that had a lot of the spray paint stuff on all the walls. He wasn't as hardcore punk. He was more the Connor Oberst kind of guy, surprisingly enough. But yeah. Anyway, he kind of influenced me in that, and I really enjoyed it because at that time, high school me, well, I guess technically I'm an 8-year-old. I probably watched it when I was 13, so very influential. And high school me really wanted to be a punk, but I couldn't really commit to all this stuff because I felt it was a little silly to be wearing ridiculous hairstyles and studded stuff, and I just kind of did my own thing, but
Cool.
nevertheless.
You ready to
I didn't go for the cast.
Oh shit! How do I keep forgetting the
I
cast?
know, we just keep jumping over
So
that.
we're out of spoiler territory. We're into spoiler territory.
No, we got one last bit.
Okay.
The cast, and then we'll jump over.
Okay.
Cast, we
It's
have
a new format. We're
We're
really
working out
bad.
the kinks.
tweaking it.
We're real kinky over here. Whose hand is that under the table, boys? It's mine.
Oh. Matthew Lillard as Steve-O. Christopher Ogden as young Steve-O. All right, because he played as a child. I was thinking the high school one because it was still Matthew Lillard. And then we had Michael Gorgian as Heroin Bob, Francis Capra as young Bob, Jason Segel or Seagal, whoever you want to call him, as Mike. A bunch of other people I've never heard of, but Annabeth Gist, Jennifer Leenan, Christopher McDonald, Devin Sawa, Adam Pascal, Till Schwager, James Duvall, and Summer Phoenix.
There are 2 people that show up in this movie that I only know from one other role each. The first one, Mike, the drug dealer, right? But you were like, I know that guy from I don't know where.
Oh, Mark.
Sure.
Till Schwager.
Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, yeah.
Who's he in that?
He is the really mean, scary looking one who never says anything.
Yeah.
And he's got like the crazy butt chin at that point.
Huh.
Yeah. And the other one was the guy that was the mod. That was their friend, the floater guy.
Jason Duvall.
Yes.
Yep.
I believe so. He is Frank the Bunny. And
James Duvall, yeah. He's Frank the Bunny.
In
I looked
yeah,
him up.
there you go. Donnie Darko.
That's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
I was like, I know that guy's face. Why don't I know that face?
There's another cult classic for you.
Yeah.
He's also in another film that I looked up, and I was kind of curious myself because watching the film at the time, I didn't realize I've seen Jason Duvall a few times. But yeah, no, Frank the Bunny. He's also in Gone in 60 Seconds and Independence Day. Probably.
And he kind of reminds me of Chris Klein a little bit, the guy that was in Rollerball. The
Yeah.
knockoff Keanu.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. They'll have that Keanu vibe.
All right, are we ready to discuss? And you can get all spoilery now.
No, I was just making sure that we were out of the
Okay.
section. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see a fucking 20-year-old punk rock movie, stop now, I guess.
Yeah.
Likenesses of so each character in this film, I feel like probably represents someone you may or may not know in your life, or at least has a likeness to someone you may or may not know. So I would like to know, as far as the characters based on, who would you, I guess, most likely see yourself as, or who do you most?
I started last time.
Okay, that's fair. That's
Bob.
fair. Bob. For what reasons?
I would like to say that I was Jason Segel, but I'm not, because he seemed like the most put together person on there. He's got a little anger issue, but other than that, Bob seems like the more realistic version of the main character. He is in that punky phase, but I don't think he is doing it to pose as hard. I think he legitimately likes looking like Taxi Driver, and then he seems to be the one who realizes before anyone else that it's just kind of silly, and that, I mean, maybe Salt Lake's not that bad, and a lot of the anger was just him feeling unfulfilled in some way or another. But at the same time, where I start to lose it is he seems like a little like conspiracy crazy, and also real quick to fucking fall in love, because doesn't he want to marry that girl after like a season of dating?
He sold himself for $36 to her.
Yeah, but I could also see myself doing that as a joke, so I guess.
I could see that as well,
Right.
100%.
He seems a little not all there.
Yeah.
So the idea of, yeah, she paid me $36 and I sold myself to her.
Right?
That's a good deal, right?
I would do that. Like, because I'd be like, well, it's not contractually binding. Also, he says dude a lot, and I get behind that. Dude.
Like, yeah,
He just seems content with life.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he's okay with where he's
Yeah,
at.
he's just like, yeah, it's whatever. It's not so bad.
I was really digging his just conspiracy off the deep end. And they could tell how Napoleon was poisoned over a long time by his hair. They read the hairlines. Going back, I'm like, I like this guy.
Yeah.
Drugs, they'll fuck you up, man.
Man. See, that's where I lose him, but there's no, perfect one-to-one,
Fair enough.
I gotta do something. Start to fight.
Exactly. Punch his own reflection. My guess, though, why he does a lot of that is he's a character on a self-exploration for who he really is, and then kind of settles in with what he is. But yeah.
Everyone in this movie.
Well,
That's the main two characters in this movie.
Deep.
As far as whom I see myself in, the James Duvall character, being the ambassador who kind of goes across all the cliques. In high school, I felt very much like that. I had a few friends with the preps. I had a few friends with like the jockey folks. Like I tried to bounce around and be friends with everyone because I was never a big fan of having enemies or people who hated me, because I have that weird thing that Pam does from The Office where I want everyone to like me. I think I could be friends with the Taliban if they got to know me. Yeah, but no,
You should probably stop that because it's an awful way to live.
It is. It's pretty terrible. And I realized that growing up that there is no means of pleasing everybody, so you just kind of take it as you see
Fuck
it.
'em.
Move along. But yeah, no. So I wrote in here as like I could be friends basically with anybody, or at least try to be. The fashion of punk to me as a child, or I guess younger, seemed kind of childish to me, and I liked it for the music. I didn't wear a lot of the clothes just because I was like, I didn't like denim jackets. I didn't have money to afford all the patches to put on my coat.
Or like the plaid pants.
Yep, or like the studded belts and stuff.
Or like the amount of effort it takes to do your hair like that.
I did it once.
Yeah.
The amount
Only
of
'cause I
product
was-
required.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. But that being said, we didn't have Nazis or rednecks in our high school. Well, I mean, we had rednecks, but the punks or nobody. We didn't really beating each other up. So I mean, we were pretty nonviolent for the most part.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
That whole cliques fighting each other thing, that seemed to only happen in movies.
I'm sure in larger cities it's a deal,
Maybe.
but
Possibly.
I am from a very small town, so
We had a graduating class of 83. Oh, I had 83 people in my
I had
graduating
81.
class. So
that was almost half of my entire school. I think we had maybe 200 total.
we're from those tiny schools,
right.
not that 300-400 odd graduating class.
But part of what actually, you go ahead. I gotta come back to
Oh,
one of those thoughts.
I don't really relate to anyone.
Hmm?
Yeah, I wasn't really part of a scene or a clique.
Fair enough.
I didn't really have a thing, so I can't really associate. I tried listening to Rush once and didn't get into it.
I was thinking Jason Segel's character.
Kind of, just because the fighting. I always wanted to be a fighter, just someone who would knock your fucking teeth out.
Is that why you got into lifting?
Kind of. Also, lifting is fun, and I love that feeling.
I really need to
of
get
your
back
body
into that.
ripping itself apart.
Yeah, brother.
But no, I was never that violent, macho.
Meathead.
Yeah, I always kind of wanted to be, but it's just kind of a weird thing to aspire to be. To be a fucking meathead.
Be a dickhead.
But it's like, no, I'm not an asshole. So.
Right.
But I can also see you being the thing that I like about, what is his fucking name? Mike? Is that Jason Segel's name?
Yeah, Mike.
The thing that I like about him is he hangs out with all the punks, but he does in zero way try to dress or look like the punks. He's just like, these people are just my friends, but this is how I like to dress.
I was waiting for that to be explained, but it never is.
No, that's just how he is.
He's just, hold my glasses. I'm going to go start a fist fight and kick this guy's ass.
Well, he's got to back his buddy up. He just
Yeah.
doesn't want to dress like his buddy.
Yeah.
Which I think
I
that's
can
why I like
respect that.
Mike. Mike seemed to be the most. Mike was, I think, the more periphery character because he already knew who he was.
He was the badass bookworm.
Yeah, and he's already very comfortable in his own skin at that point. He didn't have to go on some arc to figure it out. He's just like, no, I know who I am. Right out the gate.
I was afraid he was going to be like the dweeb, just hanging out with the
yeah.
cool kids. Like, oh, I want you guys to like me. No.
Trying to make bad references and
Yeah. Trying to fit in.
The one thing that I'm torn because I do like Shaggy. And
That's his name. His name's
acting,
Shaggy now.
But I fucking hate his character so much. He's like a weird combination of smart, lazy, angry, judgmental, conceited, and melodramatic. And it's a bunch of bad characteristics for him to have. He's constantly going on tangents, but then having no actual point behind it, and then going, but that's punk rock.
It's chaos, man.
It's chaos, man. But that's just a lazy thought process, and it's something that speaks a lot. That's the one thing I did appreciate at the end. He finally figured out he's an idiot, and I was like, oh, man, maybe I don't believe in chaos. Well, maybe I was a poser. I was like, I don't think there is such a thing as a punk rocker who's not a poser. Because the whole thing is about being different, standing out from the crowd. And I was so happy that they brought that up with that lady talking about you guys wear a uniform and you hang out together and you listen to the same music. You are not different. You are not unique. You are not a snowflake. You are all the same. You are exactly what you're trying to rebel against. Just you think you're being cool.
You are
that's
not
what
your
bothers me.
fucking khakis.
But isn't that what growing up is, though? You're figuring that out. You don't know that from the get-go. You learn it by failing hard, and realizing you're a fucking idiot, and then you kind of grow up from that. I feel like at least you should.
I mean, yeah, but
Some of us.
that doesn't
Arrested
make.
Development.
There's a whole bunch of adult punk rockers who still dress that way and think they're being rebellious, and like that's the problem I have with music scenes when you identify yourself based off of another thing, but you think that is what makes you different. It's like you go to a concert with hundreds of people dressed up like you. How do you think you are different? It makes zero sense. You know the most different person in that movie was? Minus Jason Segel, of course.
Mark.
But is Mark the older brother that was the hippie in the
No,
basement?
he was the German guy.
Oh, no. The hippie in the basement seemed like the most different person, or his weird-ass friend that was trying to summon Satan. That guy is unique.
Or just a different type of crazy.
Possibly, yes.
Just
yes.
different, just punk in a different flavor.
The one thing I did...
Well, that's the thing. He used to be punk, though. His brother, because in the beginning of it, he tries to introduce him as the guy who's in a band, like a really total hardcore punk band, but now he was probably getting into something else, and that's why he's like, now he's a total hippie, which is why he seemed really off guard when he first met him. Or not first met him, but when they went to that party in the basement. Because in the beginning, he's like, I'm going to introduce you to her brother, and then he just wasn't there, and they moved on, but he talked about how his brother is in a big old punk band, and he's, a leader of this one thing, but now he's a total hippie, which, people change.
I don't know.
Which we should lead into scenes of the music industry, I mean.
Right. Well, I mean, this kind of ties into, like, the punks have the same mentality, or the real punks have the same mentality as Norwegian black metal, real black metal, death metal, and all that, right? Where they're saying it's not about the music, man. It's about the idea. It's about the lifestyle. And it's like Lords of Chaos, another based on true story, right? There's a whole big stink about they're playing music, and like that does not even matter. They're just like, oh, this is the heaviest thing or whatever. Oh, but you killed a guy? You're so black, true metal. And that's always like, it irks me and vexes me. And you know what? It kind of perplexes me. Like, I don't understand why you make an entire subsect of, not religion, but like ideology based around music, and then it has zero to do with music, other than you want to call someone a poser because they listen to this band or that band, and you don't deem that to be true punk, true metal, true techno, true hip hop, whatever you want it to be. There's this weird like elitism within any of those more niche scenes, and like the more you break down into the subcategories, the worse it gets.
I feel like that's the same with a lot of anything. It's kind of the human condition to, if I know all, I am better, or I should be around more like-minded people, which then in the whole concept of punk rock music and the whole anarchy thing just doesn't fit because the anarchy model just doesn't work. Yeah. But going back to it, having people still be the way that they are as they're growing up as adults, like you're finding your niche, you're finding your place, but I think there's a spot where you have to learn to love it for what it is, but do not excel to the point of, I wouldn't say don't excel at elitism because, hey, you got to know what you're talking about. But, like, accept and be open-minded with the idea that there's other things that are different. Like, yeah, no, definitely. I agree. Like, it shouldn't be focused on if you stray from the path, you are no longer part of that path.
And at some point, you just become hypocritical, too.
Exactly.
What's the main character's name? What is his name? I'm just going to keep calling Shaggy if I don't.
Steve-O?
So Steve-O.
Yeah.
Makes a big stink at the mall when he's talking to the camera about like the fake Brit punks who are showing up, and they're talking weird, and they're wearing Union Jacks, and they're listening to Sex Pistols Anarchy in the UK, and he's like talking shit about it. But then he's like, it's just music, what does it matter? And it's like, well, you just made a whole fuss about the music they're listening to. Oh, it irritated the fuck out of me. Also, he says he's not a redneck. I very much relate to being from Iowa and people thinking we're all rednecks. And I used to, as a child, be like, but I'm not a redneck. I don't like it. But then I'm like, it's osmosis. We're rednecks by osmosis. He's probably got a couple of redneck tendencies, like getting random fist fights and chugging beers. Those are very rednecky.
Well, it's just all very, yeah, probably. Who knows? I mean, but now we're classifying things at that point.
Hey, he's the one that's putting labels on shit saying I'm a punk because I dress this way.
You become what you hate.
Also, fuck that guy for just random fights just because someone's a redneck. I'll give him a pass on beating up skinheads. That's whatever. But it's still, it does seem a little douchey that he instigated. But I mean, whatever.
I mean, I'm sure it's a classist thing that happens throughout Salt Lake City. Maybe like I said, had I got some of those questions answered, it would have been interesting to learn about how this scene was. Like, if something like that actually existed.
Mm-hmm.
I assume there probably was at the time. I mean, it was the 80s. I'm sure things were a little bit more crazy then. I
Yeah,
could be wrong.
cocaine and Mormonism.
That seems a little like gang war-esque.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't it though?
They call themselves a niche or a tribe.
Right.
It's like you're a gang at that point if you're just going to attack someone.
It's always like the jocks and the nerds, though.
Yeah.
It's
There's
also
always
strange that he's
opposition.
so violent, but then he's like, someone brings out a gun, he's like, I hate those things.
Well, because he just wants to beat people up. See, he goes through that cycle. He says it's about pain. Pain is existence. Existence is chaos.
You know what's real chaos? Shooting a fucking 44 Magnum and seeing what happens.
That's where they like to hang out with Mark.
Yeah.
Other than them being their dealer.
All of those guys have hearing loss now. That was a very close proximity for such a large gun. Several shots fired.
Yeah.
One of the goofs was like, "That's not what an actual 44 sounds like."
You don't say. Dan, no.
Stepping in.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yikes.
What are some other, like, based on, I would say, true stories, true events, based on true life movies and like different oddities that come from that kind of storytelling?
Would you really call this a based on real event? Because it's loosely based on. The writer-director says that it's based on people that he knows, but it's not really based on an event. It's not like this guy was in a band, like the Doors movies, right? That's based off of Jim Morrison and the Doors. So those events that happened, you can look back and say, well, this is how it actually happened. This is what the movie says.
I see.
Whereas in this, it's just, hey, one day we went to a party and then a fight broke out.
Yeah, that's valid. It's hard to, you can't really fact check anything other than like the names, I guess. That's a good point.
Or because it's like My Christmas Story, right? That guy said it's based off of his life growing up in his town. Not really a true story, but it's based off of what he experienced.
So I guess then, are any of the people in this movie real then? Like,
There are a
Is
few
there
that
a
are
Steve-O?
direct
Is there a Bob?
representations. So,
But they're not-
The interview, the director himself, James Meridino or whatever, he says it's not to represent any scene. It's just a reflection on myself and my outsider friends. And so I can tell you that the guy who plays guy, that's gonna sound awful. The
Final Destination guy.
Yeah. That was actually based off an actual person. Granted, he never went batshit crazy insane like that. But there was someone who, I guess, in a way, maybe there was some true facts to it. I can't know for sure because I didn't get those answers, but I do know that the director himself is supposed to be represented by Steve-O. And so my guess is it's his take on how the scene was and how him growing up through Salt Lake City and like going from there. Now, whether it was a 1-for-1 correlation, obviously no, but I'm sure there's a lot of closeness to it as far as what his group of friends were like and kind of things they went through. My guess, the whole, like, maybe if Bob died, maybe he did have a close friend who happened to overdose, whether it was on something like that or it was on that situation. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, so I don't quite know that one, unfortunately.
When you had said this was kind of inspired by or based on real events, I kind of thought you meant more like Lords of Chaos.
Yeah.
Which there actually was a murder that
Factual
happened.
things, and everyone's their actual names, and it's timeline and true events.
But in the movie or in the documentary Lords of Chaos, they alter a bunch of facts.
Yep.
And they kind of play it up.
Over embellished
and
stuff.
they
out of it.
and they have to make a hero and a villain too.
Yeah.
Which is what I was wondering. I noticed this movie does not do. There's no real like, hey,
It's
this
just a
is
life story.
right. It's very I don't know the word I'm looking for. Non-subjective,
Not a
objective,
biopic, but
yeah.
It's like, and you were saying, like, think of other movies. You know, I brought up Hacksaw Ridge. That was based off the actual Desmond Doss, who refused to carry a weapon. Actually saved a shitload of people. And whereas in that movie they do alter some things, like in the movie his dad calls his ex commanding officer, who's now a general or something. Whereas in reality he just wrote a letter to the director of Veteran Affairs. And Private Doss never actually got court-martialed for it. He got threatened with it, but it never went that far. It just got swept under the rug. Stuff like that in the movie, I would say is fine. Because it just kind of tells a story.
Right.
But it doesn't alter what actually happened. Whereas in Lords of Chaos, they're like, we gotta have a bad guy. So that they're changing the complete story.
Right. Well, the weird thing with Lords of Chaos,
I need to see that.
they don't really change the timeline or the events, but they change the implication and the context of those. It's hard to say that they changed that because it's all he said, she said, and one of the parties is no longer here. But based on the documentaries I had watched years ago and the interviews, and Varg has his own YouTube channel, and we'll go in depth on what his side of the story is. It's just watching that movie, it was very clear that they had painted Varg out from the get-go. They wanted him to be the bad guy, but they also made him we thought Jason Segel's character was going to be the weird nerd hanging out with them that was trying to fit in, where nothing about any interviews I've ever seen makes him look in any way unsure or awkward. He's a very very direct kind of person. And so that's when I first started thinking, man, they might be tweaking a couple things to make this a bit more of a recognizable narrative and cast of characters. So what I was wondering, I don't know how I want to word this, in a movie like Hacksaw Ridge or in a movie like Lords of Chaos, they I don't want to say they have to, but they like to change and make those tweaks in order to embellish, to make it a bit more cinematic or entertaining in their ideas.
To tell a story.
Correct. Do you think it's better or worse than when they do that in a movie like SLC Punk, where it's they say, based on true events or based on my upbringing or things like that, and at that point they can twist anything around? Which, do you think it has any variance on either one? Is it more okay in one or the other?
SLC gets away with it because there's no actual story. Maybe this guy overdosed.
Yep.
Maybe, but this isn't saying this is the true story of what happened. Whereas Hacksaw Ridge gets away with it because it's based off these events, but they don't outright change anything too terribly, right? They change the timeline of when the guy got married, so it's more poetic. That he missed his wedding because these guys don't agree with his beliefs and they're picking on him, which did happen. Right, but he was already married by the time he got he was held back. They talking a lot about Hacksaw Ridge and Lords
Which I
of
don't
Chaos.
think any of us have seen. Well, Hacksaw Ridge.
It was an alright movie. It was by Mel Gibson, so
I want to say
one of the Nazi
you can
punks.
finish your thought.
it gets away with it as long as you go into it and you research, okay, that's why they changed it slightly like this, or they upped the timetable. From what I read into it, most of that stuff is accurate. He was stuck behind enemy lines, or there are parts that are embellished, parts that cannot be completely verified, because it tells a story. But then in something like Patch Adams,
Okay.
you ever seen that?
Yep.
Robin Williams.
Yep.
That's based off of this doctor who had kind of a unique revolutionary idea. But in that, they take that real life doctor who did a lot of good work and turned him into a clown who just believed in making people laugh as good medicine. And in that, his love interest is killed by a patient, which, based off the real doctor, whose friend was murdered by a patient, was a man and was not a romantic interest.
So that they're completely taking someone else's life and
completely
putting
changing
on
it,
another character. Yeah.
and just for a better story, which is a bit more insulting because that man died for real. Whereas SLC is not a.
I think what they do
There
with
could be a
SLC
Bob, but he's
Punk,
probably not Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
based off some character.
I think it's the vagueness that makes it a little bit better, because I
Right.
feel like it's a group of friends that anybody could have had. Anybody could have related to the one character for someone else. And for the Salt Lake City scene being a highly concentrated Mormon area, maybe a lot of that stuff existed, especially in the 80s. Not only that, but you can then put your friends in those shoes, be like, hey, this group of friends are probably just kind of like this in this way. Maybe that's how their upbringing was. And so, not being super duper accurate, I'm guessing, maybe they were able to cast it out and have a blanket versus specific ideas. Hey, you probably had someone that had this happened to before. So, I don't know. I think the movie just makes it a little bit easier to relate to in that sense. which I suppose most movies are supposed to be like that anyway. But I think in comparison to a film that where actual events happen and then get over embellished, this one strays a little bit further to make it a little bit more vague. Whereas like Hacksaw Ridge or Lords of Chaos was about specific events that got blown out of proportion, for my guess, for the sake of filling seats, maybe. Maybe if it wasn't even in the theater, but like for the sake of shock and awe or entertainment. Which, I mean, needless to say, if those actual things happened in Lords of Chaos, holy shit, it was crazy. But to hear from the real accounts, it wasn't near as insane. Granted, it still was pretty damn insane.
It was insane.
But it wasn't as over the top, or so the one guy makes it, or Vard says. So
No, it was. It was. It's just a matter of who started it and whether or not he was crazy, I think, is the biggest thing that was tweaked. But was SLC is not marketed as a true story, right? There's nowhere in the trailer or anywhere. So when I was wondering, then the ones that are, based on true story, inspired by true story, how far do you let that go before that's bullshit? Because obviously, like, the most extreme end of that is like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, inspired by a true story. It takes place in Texas with a cannibal family with a guy who wears someone's face rocking a chainsaw, but it was based on Ed Gein, who is a serial killer, was a cannibal, and made skin lamps that lived in Milwaukee.
Wasn't it?
Does that not seem like a bit of a stretch?
I feel like at that point they're just doing it to get the audience intrigued.
Correct, but how far should we let them go? Like, Hacksaw Ridge is based on a true story. Lords of Chaos is based on a true story, but how many more tweaks do they have to go before it gets to that level and we're okay?
I think there's a certain way that they say it, like either based on a true story or based on actual events.
Inspired by true events.
Inspired, yeah.
Is the wording.
So I feel like when you say inspired, you're almost given complete creative freedom to just be like, this happened once, so I'm going to put it in my film and make it, crazy, like some of the Conjuring stuff or the exorcism stuff. Yeah. It's inspired by actual events, where I feel like that gets really tweaked up with based on a true story or based on actual events. And so when that just kind of gets muddled, then you just kind of immediately assume, oh, hey, that actually happened.
Because there were for sure people leaving Texas Chainsaw Massacre when that came out like, oh my god, I can't believe that family was real. They didn't have Google to find out it wasn't.
People still do that with Google.
That's valid. That is very true.
No, I saw that in the movie. That's true. It's for the fucking movie.
I seen it. Didn't you have something you wanted to talk about, like the way it was shot?
Oh, yeah, it feels very. Some of the scenes feel very guerrilla filming.
And that's because the director used jump cuts.
No, I mean like
jump cuts.
They didn't have a permit,
right?
So they just ran into a mall, had a camera hidden, and Shaggy was just going crazy, right? Because there are sometimes people are walking by and they kind of look back, and then they just keep fucking walking.
Maybe they had some really good extras.
Maybe. But those jump cuts, they're just random people walking by. It's like, those can't be extras. Those look like real people that are just walking by as these guys are filming.
Park.
Yeah.
And it's very quite
park,
possible.
the mall.
So in an interview with with James, he said he didn't have time for coverage. So like French New Wave directors use jump cuts, but once you commit to that, it's the design, you have to keep using it.
Was he did he make music videos?
I don't know. I didn't really look into that.
That was the vibe I got hardcore from this movie. Was it's filmed like a music video, like the way the focus is on sometimes, the way the blocking on the scenes are, and especially the jump cuts, like when they're tripping and things like that. It looks like you would do a music video, like the overlays where you can see like three things going on at once. It was like a super 90s music video that took like 2 hours.
How he goes from his shitty apartment or his warehouse or vacant building,
whatever he was living in,
and then immediately he's in that one lady's bedroom and she's looking like Ophelia, whatever he called her. That was kind of the weird. Sometimes there's traditional transitions, like, okay, now we are here. Other times jump cuts where they just, we're here now, or they're just a hard slash.
And they're especially like when Bob's going off on the LSD story and drugs, like the amount of cuts and jumps and flashes and screen. It made sense to me why you liked this movie, because this movie is just a collection of montages, and it's worse than a montage movie because it's montages with ADD. There's montages inside of montages with cuts before they should be, and it's just like.
Well, I feel like he did
it's
it
an assault.
pretty well though, because it's trying to explain a lot of characters, whereas a lot of movies they're not going to have a lot of backstory for reasons. But this one, like the jump cuts are the backstory to catch you up to the now moment,
That's
which
not a jump
happens
cut.
not but, well, what's that called? When you
Flashback montage.
yeah, something
insert.
like that. But anyway, it cuts all the way just to go back till about what is it? Probably 2/3 into the movie, it finally starts picking up to where they started and left off. Which I mean, I can appreciate for the sake of I like all these characters. I want to know what they're about, so they get you a little mini synopsis that sums up who they are and then jumps right back to it.
It's a nice way to do it, other than just. I guess it is kind of still exposition, but I mean, at least they visualize it, which is nice.
Exactly.
What's kind of weird is they establish Steve-O. He has a little flashback with his parents. They establish Dan. What's that his name?
Bob.
Dan. Bob. Other.
Playoff. Carl.
Ted. They establish Bob. He has a little flashback. And then has another little flashback of his hand. Back and forth. But then Mike's there and he doesn't get a flashback. His doesn't come until like an hour later.
And it doesn't really establish him. It just shows more of his craziness.
And by that time, we already know that guy's crazy
Yeah.
because we saw him get into a fist fight with the bouncer and then immediately apologize like, hey, I'm sorry, man, but you punched my buddy. And that's just my feelings said to do it.
It's another really...
I'm a sociopath.
No, see, what I liked about that was he told the guy, his principal, was like, hey, I had to help my friend out. No hard feelings. And he apologized to him. And it's like, that is the proper adult thing to do. Like after everything's calmed down, he wasn't too big of a man to be like, oh, fuck that pussy, you deserved it. He was like, hey, man, I'm sorry. And you're hit, my friend. I didn't know what was going on. I had to do it.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay in our beautiful country.
Oh, shit.
Girlfriend never got an intro.
No,
Or
and I
back
feel
plot.
like they probably should have. But
Which
being
one,
as she
Mustache or
seemed-
the girl
First
from
one.
Fight Club?
Not
the first
mustache.
one. I think the first one didn't need to have much of one, but then again, I could be wrong because she was kind of summed up at the party, and it was he just said she is who she is. She's a silly person. Granted, yeah, it may have been kind of interesting to have, but it sounded like she just kind of entered their life at that point and then left. So maybe they didn't know a whole lot about who she was. Where it sounds like a lot of the guys, they grew up together as a young age, so maybe that's how they knew each other. Maybe that's why they didn't give them a backstory. But I feel like maybe if they grew up with her, if they had been with her, maybe she would have been given something like that.
I think it's because she's just a plot device.
Probably.
I don't think she is a character. I think she is literally there just to make him stop believing in chaos. That's it.
Good point. Good point.
And to have sex with sometimes.
Correct. Because she doesn't really... In all their interactions, it's not like she's really adding anything. She tells him he's dead a couple times when they're tripping acid, but other than that, her only purpose is to be there. He's like, I like her. She's cool. She's weird, but she's cool. But we're not in love or anything. But then he catches her fucking someone else, which is the deal they agreed on. And he flips shit and then goes, maybe I'm a poser. Maybe there is chaos, whatever.
Here's the problem. He caught feelings.
Caught him hard.
Was
Which was pretty fucking obvious when they first show her too, so I don't know why he didn't see it.
Because it goes against his ideals.
Right.
Which it makes several times in the film. He states that he is kind of conflicting with his own ideals. And he is just the way it is, and it's my beliefs, and I have to go by that. And towards the end, he starts talking about how he's getting tired of it. It's wearing him down. To do that for that many years, yeah, I could see that happening.
The only problem is it doesn't change him. Because as soon as he meets Mustache, he's like, oh, and then I fell in love. It's like, you bitch, you just met her. Calm down here, buddy. And he shaves his head. And he's like, I'm a grown-up now.
This movie is very weird in its not a traditional story or movie.
Mm-hmm. There is no story. There's
Right.
arcs, but no story.
There's
Right,
a
it's just
shitload of tropes.
things happening.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it felt so much longer than what it was. You said 97 minutes. Felt way
Felt
longer.
very long, yeah.
There's a lot of hypocritical humor in there too.
Yeah.
It did it does follow the idea of someone's recalling their life story very well. It's just because it's just is it non sequitur? Would that be the proper word for it? Where things just kind of happen in an order?
Nothing's really connected.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's not really a whole reason for the next scene to pop in a lot of times. It just does.
And then we beat up Nazis.
Yeah.
And then we went to a party. And then the police showed up. And then we went to another party.
Oh, Mike, I was telling you about him earlier. This one time, right? He starts breaking windows, right?
I kind of like that.
It makes sense in the film in a film style and order to give that same vibe of this is a man recounting his life, but it doesn't play out as a proper there's not really story. There's stories, but no story, which is weird. I don't know if I'm saying that in a way that makes sense though.
I get you.
But he definitely has a bit of an arc where it's like a coming of age.
There's
movie.
not really like a build, the climax and the after.
It just kind of ends like Bob dies and it's over.
There's a lot of people that were kind of upset with how quick it wraps itself up right at the end.
And how
but I mean,
neatly.
that very well could have been the very last straw for him because he's like exhausted. And now his one friend is dead, and he's like, well, fuck it.
Well, the
Going to
other
Harvard.
thing, yeah, like that. Just fucking listen to Shooter McGavin at an hour ago, and you'd be fine. Like I don't understand.
But he's a stubborn punk.
He's clearly smart. His dad nails him to a T. And is telling him exactly what's going on. He's like, but no, I'm not, man. I'm a punk. It irritates the fuck out of me. Ugh. Anyways.
Well, I've talked about most of my topics.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go over a few of the tropes.
Yeah. Unless Lance, you got anything else over there? I can tell you were super involved in this movie.
I think we covered that I didn't know what the fuck was happening half the time. When it goes into those weird, what's the word? Non-sequential, non-sequitur. I was liking that. If the whole movie was like that, I'd probably like it more. But then it kind of cuts back into almost traditional-esque movie format, but not quite. It's kind of jarring.
I think that's part of what makes this movie feel longer too. Is the pacing is so odd because there's so many quick little things, and then you'll get into a scene that lasts like 15 minutes, and then and it's like
It does feel a lot longer than it was.
You can't gauge where you're sitting at, and that makes the movie feel really long because you're not like, oh, we're in the third act now, so we're on the home stretch. I don't know.
It's a how is it?
My dad's in the liquor store. that is.
What the hell happened to you?
Oh, don't worry about it, Mom. They're from England.
The beard, the hair.
That explains it.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird.
Yikes.
When you're saying tropes, do you mean movie making tropes or punk tropes?
Just a lot of the movie making tropes that just events that are found in a lot of other films, I guess. I don't know if it's a movie making one, but there's this stuff it's a coming of age story. There is the charmer who is in the film. There's the abusive parents aspect of the story. There's the dark troubled past. What other ones? There's
Which
so
parents
many.
were abusive?
Bob's, right?
Yeah, abusive parents. Bob's father's an insane alcoholic.
Shoots
Oh,
at him with a gun. Yeah.
That was implied.
Yeah.
Childhood abuse. Okay.
Yeah. He's like, now I understand kind of why Bob's the way he is.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas Steve-O's parents seem like actually super well-adjusted people, minus the divorce and whatever.
He's a son of a bitch.
Roasted, just like his father.
They have one in here listed as Nazi Hunter, which I don't know if that's a movie trope.
I don't think it's
but
a trope.
Is that like lazy eye, black man with lazy eye?
What?
From Tiny.
Oh,
Tiny
that's a
Lister?
tag.
Tiny- yeah.
You're talking about tags on IMDb.
I thought we were talking
People
about.
searching-
No.
No, we're talking about tropes. Tropes, not tags.
Yeah. Things that show up in movies.
Death by irony. This is going to be huge. The big haircut, essentially, is what it's called. So when somebody cuts their hair, it's a
it
big life
signifies,
change. But yeah, just stuff like that. It's called the important haircut. Excuse me. Ironic nicknames. Please wake up. That's a scene I see quite a bit in other films.
Yeah, when he was doing that, and he's like, I wasn't ready. All I was thinking was, he wasn't ready.
He had to do that scene with just himself, actually, so because he couldn't have anybody else in the room to do it. Because I guess Matthew Lillard, I don't know if it was Matthew Lillard or what it was the actual guy's events, but the reason why he started doing he got really big into it is because he was thinking about when his dad died, and so that's why he was able to pull a bunch of like tears, because I guess that happened in a way similar, not necessarily drug fashion, but like, hey,
That's why he was able to get the spittle all over his...
He committed.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
he
give
did
him
hard.
that.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He did a good job in this movie. Every
yes.
actor in this movie did a good job. Just
100%.
It wasn't worth the effort.
My biggest problem with that scene is I can see him breathing.
You can see his
His neck
And
is
his
to me. I'm
eye.
like, cut away, stop,
Yeah.
just don't do it. I can see it.
His eye was like twitching a little bit too. Yeah. It is what it is.
made in 1998.
Indie movie from 98.
I'm
yeah.
sure if it was on a not a big high def TV, you wouldn't be able to see that.
Maybe.
Cathode ray.
Maybe.
I don't know what they're called.
CRT?
CRT. Yeah.
Yeah, cathode ray too.
Floating. He's floating in space while being
that's definitely-
retroflective.
It's gonna float, Tom. It's gonna float.
As soon as he's sitting here like
Yeah.
this, and I'm looking at where the light and the shadows are laying, I'm like, oh,
The
he's about to
bad green
float.
screen.
He's on a green
Oh,
screen.
yeah. Same with when they're in the bar and he's about to tell the flashback story for Mike. I was like, oh, well, he's about to green screen because
He
he's
pops
definitely
up
not
and
with the
gets
rest
closer.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, forgivable because it's from 1998 and it's an indie movie. That's pretty fucking impressive.
Oh, yeah. $2 million budget and doesn't even make it back. That's a shame, but
Yeah, is what
I
it
mean,
is.
you gotta know that if you're
Chaos, right?
it's a cycle.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. Hey, let me see your hand. I'll drop some water on it and then we'll like chaos theory. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Because now you see when it moves
Yeah.
that way. Checkmate. Sorry, I lost it there at the end.
Yeah, yeah, so close, so close.
Shall we wrap it up?
Yeah, the wrap up.
All right. Well, I suppose we're gonna wrap it up to favorite scene.
When Mark loses his mind about his drug being missing, and he goes on. It's one of the few moments of this movie where it felt like an actual movie, and like some shit's going down. There's no camera cuts. It slowly just kind of gets closer while he gets closer, telling the story of how his parents like died in that plane crash, and his mom like didn't break eye contact as her head got dismembered, and he wanted to find his dad so he'd kick him because he was a fucking liar. And I was like, fuck. Yeah, hell yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I wish I would have picked that one. I think it's got to be the I wasn't ready for this.
That was a good
I
one, too.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Kind of my feeling about this whole movie. I was not prepared for this moment.
That's a solid one though.
Or the Nazi beatdown. Just for the principle of
Proud
it.
one.
Yeah. Which is a weird tie back to what, we just found out that Mark did in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah,
I'm sure if
yeah,
Mark
hey.
was there, he would have
Yeah.
had quite a heyday.
Yeah.
My favorite scene essentially is when Steve-O's trying to explain overall what punk is and what started it. Because I just like that in your face, hey, this is what's going on, why they started it. It's not about the music. It's not about this. Why the scene is not working so great. Like, the only reason why I like it is there's a way that I can relate to it in a sense. Whereas to define what it is to be punk in itself is not. Because you could say it's this, this, and this, but at the same time, it's not. It's not about necessarily if you're wearing the music scene versus listening and enjoying for what it is, or if you're doing it for fashion, or if it's coming from across the seas and you're picking up a new style. Like, that's great and all, but like it feels like an educational lesson for a minute, whether or not you know about it or not. 13-year-old me thought it was a badass thing.
So that was the scene where I realized that I hated Steve-O. Because he's like getting on his pulpit and saying, this is what it is, this is what it is, this, and this, and this is what it is, this is what it isn't, this is not what it is, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but that's just like your opinion, man. like, I don't like it when people take something that cannot be proven and stated as fact and like, this is what it is. And I'm just like, to you, yeah, maybe, but you can't tell me, the viewer, that that's what punk is.
The delivery of it, though, is what really gets to me, though.
I guess.
Because he seems a guy who's really into what he is, even if he realizes.
But
it's
he's not
all
what he is, though. That's
what
the
I'm
problem.
saying. That's what I like about it. Because at the end of it all, it didn't even matter. Like, it's contradictory.
I know, but I can't stand I cannot stand it. People who are, and I do it myself, but I cannot stand it. Who people are like,
how's that tea?
the only difference is I don't try and go around telling people what punk is or what metal is or what video games are. And I see so much of that in today's culture where like say, oh, this is not a game because there's not a objective to it, and it's just a story that you play through.
Simulator.
Walking simulator. Yeah,
Gatekeeping.
like I'll talk Boom.
Exactly.
I will talk shit about things I don't like, but I will never tell someone that that's not what they think it is. Like, that irritates the fuck out of me, and that's why I hate Steve-O.
I mean, I will on certain subjects.
I hate
Vaccinations.
I mean, well, they could be wrong about it, but that's something that's scientifically proven.
I know, but that's the thing. The stance is like, if it's a proven thing, you gotta.
Yeah.
Hey,
you
I'm gonna
can't
stand
prove
my ground
art
on
is
that.
the problem that I have.
Art, yeah,
You
no.
can't prove
art
art.
is subjective, 100%.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so he can't tell me that punk isn't just fast, aggressive, fuck you music, which is what I think punk is. I don't think you have to dress a certain way. I don't think it has to sound a certain way. As long as it's fast and it irritates people, it's punk. Not too different from metal. Metal is just punk with skill. That's all it is. To me, anyways.
With a rhythm.
There's rhythm in punk.
Well, the
There's
old
rhythm.
stuff, not a whole lot. 'Cause it just gets really messy.
That's still rhythm.
I mean, yeah.
It's on beat.
It's
It's
subjective.
got a tempo. See, it's not though, because rhythm's mathematics.
Fair.
Ah,
Fair enough.
what was your favorite? Oh, you just said it.
Yep. So we gotta go to MVP. I'll sell mine. Mine's Matthew Lillard, just because he did his character well. I feel like whether or not he was a good character or not, I just thought he really fucking committed to it.
Yeah,
So that's mine.
you nailed it.
Was this his first movie?
No,
No.
because they say in the trailer from Scream and
Oh,
that rom-com movie. Like I can't remember. It's a
not
popular one
Scooby-Doo.
though. No, it is a popular rom-com though.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
I clicked him, and wow,
Yeah, he's kind of in his element
good
though.
movies.
He's
She's All That?
he's mine
Was
as
that it?
well.
I think so. Holy ball.
But this would have been like, I think this might have been the big like, hey, let's try and sell a movie based off of him being in it.
Scream 2. I forgot.
He was the
he was
biggest
in
name they
Hackers
had.
too.
Oh yeah.
That's a ride of a movie.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, he's one of those
These
guys
walls could
that
talk.
whenever I see him in a movie, I'm like, oh, he's in this. I know that guy, but then I
He's-
never remember who he is.
He's not quite a character actor, but he's got like the same kind of quality where it's like, oh shit, he's in this. But it's not like, oh, that's him. It's just like, oh, that's him.
Yeah.
And by the way, he is in 13 Ghosts.
Hmm?
He's in 13
Ghost
No, I knew
Ship.
he was
Ghost
in that.
Ship.
Yeah.
I think the problem is the last time I watched 13 Ghosts, we had watched Ghost Ship immediately afterwards. So I'm combining the two
It's a good
And
film.
then you watch Space Ghost,
with Monk,
Coast to Coast.
and then we watched Monk, and then we watched Mr. Bean.
Fuck, it's a marathon of randomness. My MVP, I originally had Bob written in here until like halfway through this podcast, and I switched it over to Mike because I fuck Mike's the best. Like he's just no nonsense, and he's the only one that's figured himself out by the start of the movie, which is odd because you should want to see someone make do the progression of their life. But in a movie where I'm getting angry at people not progressing and then progressing too fast, Mike was a breath of fresh air because everyone seemed like they were playing a character. Their character was playing a character, putting on a persona that they thought they had to be, versus Mike was just like,
I'd like to know
Sup,
what
guys?
Mike's parents were like.
right. I feel like they were really supportive.
Probably.
Like I feel like Mike just was like, hey, it's whatever. Not as like, hey, it's whatever as Bob, but and he was just like, someone's got to save the brain force. I'm kind of angry though. If that wasn't in the trailer, that would have been my what the fuck moment for sure. Who was your most valuable?
Shaggy,
Too dope.
just Ultra Instinct Shaggy, just freaking out. Just
Favorite.
no, I didn't really have a. He's the one that I liked.
Right.
I think we covered that.
Yep.
Acting and enjoying himself.
I think my favorite scene with Matthew Lillard, though, is when he's trying to explain to his parents that they're sellouts and whatnot, and he's jumping up and down, and his mohawk's doing the bend.
His fake mohawk with the bad ball cap on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wavy hair.
What the fuck moments? I'll go mine. Drug trip. That
Which
trippy
one?
part where he drops acid with his girlfriend,
Okay.
and it gets
In the
real
park?
fucking crazy, and the blood rushing, and the cuts, and the voices, and the repeating self. I feel like if that's anything how acid is, no fucking thank you.
So
I will
you would
pass.
rather not experience that than what Final Destination kid did, where he thought the devil was in the house who had murdered his mom and turned her into a pot.
Well, I wouldn't want to experience that either. He took, 7 for a bunch of hits of acid through the leg involuntarily?
So here's the deal. I've never done acid. I have done some. So I've never done acid. But that is like one of the biggest like urban legend stories. Like as soon as he was running and it's in his pocket, like that's why he went on that big tangent of saying, and then he ran through a sprinkler system and now he thinks he's a glass of orange juice. Like even in high school, I was hearing people tell like that same fucking story, but it always had a different ending as to what happened to the kid. I feel like I looked it up at some point and it's not possible for it to just dissolve through your pocket and do that to you. Could be wrong. Never done it.
I wouldn't want to risk it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like I'd rather not try and stab my mom because I thought she was a devil, and then become a beggar.
Yeah,
That was depressing.
Yeah, real heavy-hearted on that one.
Mm-hmm. My what the fuck moment was Mustache. Not necessarily just her, because it's whatever, but
Summer Phoenix, I believe her name is.
it's the part where Bob is having his like headache and his breakdown and all that, and he's taking him out of there and he goes, "Hey, so can I call you tomorrow?" She goes, "No." I mean, yeah. What?
She's just
what?
She's just in the moment. She's like, "No, everybody get out." I guess, but
It almost seems like she forgot her line and was like, "Oh wait, yeah."
I'm the new love interest. That's right.
Plot device number 2. And then like nothing pans out of that. Like after that story,
I was a
you
little
never
upset
come
about
back
that,
to
yeah.
her. Like you don't see them sitting at the funeral together. It's just like, he's like,
What
"Oh
happened?"
man, I'm a big dope and I love her." And
That's got to be a really weird thing. You're making out with a guy, and then his buddy breaks your mirror, and then he dies the next day. Then you have the police investigation, and the guy asks questions, and your parents find out, and they're pissed.
it would be more understandable if they were in high school, but these guys had graduated college, and that's what bothered me. Also, she was 19, so a bunch of fucking losers who are at least 22, maybe 23 at this point, hanging out with 19-year-olds. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys
And
doing?
16-year-olds.
I mean, he was
She was 17.
To be fair, he
Close
was
enough.
invited over.
Friend's
there
sister.
Well, no, because isn't Trish like 30 something?
Yeah. The
Because
older
they
one.
were invited to her house by Trish.
Yep.
Oh,
And like I'm all for like you can hang out with adults of any age, but it's also weird when you're trying to hit on people. So at this point, if you can't go to the bar, I feel like it's weird. But before that, it was like if we had not been in high school at the same time, I feel like that's weird. Like if I could be possibly invited to your prom and I have graduated college, that's weird.
yeah. Yeah, you just graduate high school and I'm already out of college. And
It's a bit odd. Like that's at some point, what's wrong? What's going on here?
Puts a real strain on the relationship.
Yeah, I feel like you're at different points of your, development, maybe. Although she clearly was more adult than he was, so it's whatever. Maybe she wasn't. Fuck. She was like, "Yeah, call me tomorrow. Your friend just broke a mirror and you're weird. I like you, but I also understand that you're an oxymoron."
He's what you'd call a fixer-upper.
damaged.
Yeah.
Put that on my forehead. Can you go over yours?
I hate to cheap out and just say the whole movie. It's kind of the whole movie.
Just felt like a constant what the fuck assault.
Yeah, I wasn't
fuck
prepared
assault?
for it. I wasn't prepped. I didn't know what state of mind to be in. That or the mosh pit scene where I just kept repeating, "I want all of you to die. Die. I just want a car to run over all of you dumb fucking punk ass bitches."
Are you saying you don't like to mosh?
No.
Why not? It's so much fun.
Okay. I win.
I
I like
kicked in the
Guar,
back
right?
once.
Guar.
Yeah.
I've
I
never
like
been
Guar.
to a concert, but I know of them.
When they came through town, I went to go see them because I'm like, I want to see Guar. Unfortunately, what was his name? Odorungus.
Oh, the singer? Yeah.
The original singer died.
Yeah.
This was the replacement.
Oh,
I'm like,
the
okay,
girl.
whatever. I'll go see it. They had some shitty knockoff Slipknot wannabe band called Asylum or something. I want to see the death pit in the middle here. And 5 guys were bouncing around. Fucking idiots.
Well, yeah.
You're
If
a
there's only
bunch of
5.
fucking no, just a whole group. Just the whole fucking group of your fucking idiots.
So-
do your whole scene thing, but you're fucking idiots.
So this is where I need to clarify some things. Were they doing like the punch swing and like trying to fight each other, or was it just like people like jumping and pushing each other?
the outskirts.
that's where I draw the line.
The like 20 people on the outside were doing the kind of push thing.
Right.
Then like the 5 guys on the inside were like the jousting into each other. And
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be in a
Fucking
kung fu
idiots.
fight.
Like the people that like flail their arms around and
Yes.
kick everywhere. Like,
Yes.
why? What?
It's emotion. It's about pain. It's about bullshit.
It's about if
And
you
other
keep swinging those
faces.
hands at me, I'm gonna wait until I see an opening and probably punch you right in the face, and you
Are-
won't see it coming because your eyes are closed.
Are they going to catch these hands?
No, just this one,
Just this one.
and then I'll be like, ow. No, I got elbowed real hard in the nose at a day to remember, and I was like, fucking assholes, just fucking push each other. But I've been to plenty of other ones where people are just like, yeah, let's just jump and push, and it's like, that's just fun.
Right.
Because then you're just jumping and trying to like to stay alive, you know.
I was a Devil Wears Prada, and some guy got was crowd surfing. I got
Don't
straight
like that
kicked
either.
right in the back.
I bet it's really fun to crowd surf, but it's super
I
fucking
don't think
irritating
it'd be
being
fun at
underneath.
all. Like
Yeah.
your life is now dependent upon these people to keep you afloat, not just drop you on your fucking head.
I just remembered
Oh boy.
the last concert I went to, and I don't want to say the name of the band because it's really embarrassing and I don't like it.
Taylor Swift.
Falling in reverse.
Oh.
Back when their first album came out, and I was young and I didn't understand how big of a douchebag Ronnie Radke was. So,
Young and naive.
right, I was like 20, not even 21 yet. We're in the back, right? And then like Tanner's getting hammered. He doesn't like the band, but he's just there because he just turned 21. He can get hammered. And Luke's there, and I think Brody's there. And at this, like, I was up at the very front the entire show, and like at this point, like I kind of waited back because I was like, all right, I got enough of that. Then there are people crowd surfing, and then all of a sudden, this skinny little like our age girl was like, toss me. She wants to crowd surf.
Cannot make the distance. You'll have to toss me.
And I can't remember if like Luke and Brody did it or if it was just some other random person nearby. But they chuck her up, and oh, poor girl, no one caught her, and like a sea parted like Moses in the desert, and just boosh right on the concrete. And it was the greatest thing I've ever seen at a fucking concert in my life. Oh,
Ouch.
oh, that was fun. That was fun.
Music.
So that about wraps it up for this episode of Dudes Watch a Movie.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around.
What a-
Just like
what
that
a
girl
good
at that
one.
concert, we have hit the floor.
Rock bottom.
But
Any ideas as to you picked this one? I picked the last one. Where are we going?
Which way do we want to go? Because do we want to stay on the music vibe? Do we?
I don't know, we strayed from it.
Life is your oyster. It is what it is,
I
man.
don't know.
Take that pearl.
I wasn't. I didn't know where I was going when I
related
started that.
I don't
Honestly,
know. I'm afraid because I haven't picked a good one
Bloodfest
yet.
wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. It
Your
wasn't.
choice of movies aren't terrible.
Yes, they are.
You are. You matter. I was trying to think what the thing is after
This
you
is
are
a-
incredible. You are.
A fucking to write love on her arm day.
beautiful.
Fucking.
No matter what they say.
What?
Yikes.
I don't know. Maybe if we stick on the music vibe, I might go find that movie that Lordy's in
Lordy.
Lord.
with an I, not
I'm
an E.
Lord.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
not. Oh fuck! What was their song?
Hey, I got a computer. I can look this up.
Yeah,
Lordy.
Royals.
Lordi.
yeah. He's,
Diamonds in the
Film.
Norwegian.
Mr. Lordy.
Mr. Lordy. Yeah.
Mm.
That's the guy, or that's the film?
Well, that's
Oh.
his name in the band.
Mr. Lordy was born in 1974 in
I think he was in a movie,
Rovaniemi,
actually.
Finland, as
Ooh,
Tommy. His name is Tommy
Don't ruin Mr. Lordy for me.
Putinansu,
Sure.
with 2 A's and 2 U's.
So it sounds like we're watching whatever that is.
Yeah. I
Spy
might go find
Games?
that one. No, it wasn't.
Dark Floors, The Tough Ones, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D,
That's it.
one-shot
That was the
parody
one.
special.
That was the one.
Apparently, he appears
You
in
on
the,
Wikipedia?
He is on the soundtrack for that film.
I wanna.
Bullshit. Mr. Lordy is on Yu-Gi-Oh!
2011 soundtrack, Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's one-shot parody special. I shit
I'll play
not.
you a little Mr.
Hey.
Lordy.
Parody special. I feel like that's important
Did I
to
say
grasp.
party special?
You're saying parody special.
Yeah, parody special.
That's why I think it's important to grasp. I don't think that's a real thing. I think that's why he's on it.
Okay.
Saying.
Not a real Yu-Gi-Oh like thing. So
I
Is
didn't
the
catch
movie
that part.
Dance
Thank you.
Floors or Monster Man?
I don't want to
Tukara
like
Misunuma?
make you pick something. Like you can always do the like. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out next time.
There it is.
Fair enough.
I'm indecisive.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Punk is dead.
Yeah.
Actually, that is my last question. Is punk dead? I don't feel like it
I
is.
wish.
As an idea, no. As a culture,
No.
maybe.
No. I mean, it's not popular is the issue. And it's a thing that's going on with rock. Everyone's like, rock and roll's dead. And it's like, no, it's just not the most prevalent fucking thing right now. There's punk bands making music. There's rock bands making music. There's people dressing like punkers, rockers, whatever. It's just you don't see it on the radio.
True.
I think it will come back around. I mean, it's last time punk was, I hate to say relevant, but last time it was relevant was like American Idiot.
True.
And I'm irritated as fuck that there hasn't been a Donald Trump punk album yet. Like
Me too. When
this
Bush
seems
was
like
around, oof.
this seems like this is kind of when it should be happening,
No
guys.
effects. Get on your game, bro.
Oh fuck
You're
them.
your own record company.
Fuck them and their pharmaceutical song. That thing was so fucking cheesy and cringy. That's what happens.
Clever is what
That's
it was.
what it wasn't. That's what happens when you're 50 and trying to make punk songs. It's a young man's game. It's just
young man's
it's just like rap, you know. Once you're
Die.
40 and rapping, you're cheesy.
Die early. Die when you're good.
Or be like a villain or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Live
something,
fast.
something.
Die.
Okay, that's it. Bye.
Goodbye.
See ya. Thanks. Oh, thanks, because I was gonna go. I was just gonna keep going. It was not gonna end.
I don't feel like I had a lot to contribute in that